How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, January 10th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Simpson for this episode of The Elite. I'm going to cover the elite performances from yesterday, Saturday, January 9th, as we cycle through football, basketball, of course, college, and then, of course, soccer as well. I'm going to start with football because in the NFL, the playoffs have started, and starting with yesterday, 3 of the 14 teams have been eliminated. Now 11 teams stand in the NFL between themselves and the trophy, honestly. But looking into last night's performances, starting with the Buffalo Bills matchup, the Buffalo Bills, the second seed in the AFC East, will go on to take on the number 7 seed in the AFC, the Indianapolis Colts. And in this matchup, the Buffalo Bills beat the Indianapolis Colts and eliminate them after beating them 27-24, especially after outscoring them 14-10 in the first half. It was pretty hard for the entirety of the game. It came down to the last play, but Phillip Rivers' Hail Mary attempt was not enough to get them over the hump, and that'll be their last game. In the Indianapolis Colts' last game of the 2020-21 NFL season, their starting quarterback Phillip Rivers would complete 27 of his 46 passes, throwing for 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the ground, their leading rusher was Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, who had 78 yards on 21 carries and a touchdown. He also had 6 yards on 2 receptions to give him 84 total yards of offense. Nyheim Hines would finish with 75 yards on 6 carries on the ground. He also had 8 yards through 1 reception, giving him 83 total yards of offense for the day. Their leading receiver was Michael Pittman Jr., who had 90 yards on 5 receptions. He also had 11 yards on a carry to give him 101 total yards of offense, the most total yards for any player on the Colts that wasn't Phillip Rivers. And then Jack Doyle finished with 70 yards on 7 receptions and a touchdown. And additionally, Zach Pascal finished with 37 yards on 3 receptions and Phillip Rivers' other passing touchdown of the day. On the defensive side of the ball, their leading tackler was their elite linebacker and first-team All-Pro Darius Leonard. Danico Autry would finish with 4 tackles and a sack and a half as he shared one of his with Justin Houston, as they both combined for the 2 sacks of the day for the Colts. For the Buffalo Bills, in their first game of the wild card, their elite starting quarterback Josh Allen would complete 26 of his 35 passes, throwing for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 54 yards on 11 carries and an additional touchdown to give him a total of 378 total yards and 3 total touchdowns of offense. The leading receiver was their elite wide receiver Stephon Diggs, who finished with 128 yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown. Gabriel Davis finished with 85 yards on 4 receptions. Cole Beasley, their second-team All-Pro wide receiver, had 57 yards on 7 receptions, and then Dawson Knox had 5 yards on 2 receptions, and then he had Josh Allen's second passing touchdown of the day. On the defensive side of the ball, Matt Milano would finish with 11 total tackles, leading the team. No one on the team was able to register a single sack for the entire game. And then Darrell Williams was able to recover Josh Allen's fumble as well. Or Daryl Johnson, he would pick up a whole other fumble as he finished with 1 tackle on the day. With this win, the Buffalo Bills, with the second seed in the AFC, will advance to the next round of the playoffs, and it looks as though they're more than likely going to take on the winner of the. We'll see as to who they're going to take on next. I believe they're probably going to take on either the Steelers or the winner of the Ravens and Titans if the Cleveland Browns win, because that's how their playoffs are looking. Jumping to the next game of the playoffs, where the Los Angeles Rams eliminated the Seattle Seahawks after beating them 30-20, outscoring them 20-10 in the first half, as both teams scored 10 in the second half. In their final game of the season for the Seattle Seahawks, their elite quarterback Russell Wilson would complete 11 of his 27 passes, throwing for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He also ran for 50 yards on the ground to give him 224 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was Chris Carson, who had 77 yards on 16 carries. Their leading receiver was DK Metcalf, who finished with 96 yards on 5 receptions, and he had both of Russell Wilson's passing touchdowns on the day. On the defensive side of the ball, their leading tackler was their elite linebacker, Bobby Wagner, who finished with 16 tackles and a sack. Jaron Reed would finish with 5 tackles as he had 2 sacks. Those are the 3 sacks of the day for the Seattle Seahawks. And in their first game of the wild card, game, the Los Angeles Rams, they would start John Wolford, who would complete 3 of his 6 passes for 29 yards. But then he got hurt, so then they replaced him with their original starter, Jared Goff, who sprained his thumb, or who fractured his thumb like 2 weeks ago. He completed 9 of his 19 passes, throwing for 155 yards and a touchdown. On the ground, their leading rusher was Cam Akers out of Florida State, who finished with 131 yards and 28 carries and a touchdown. He also had 48 yards through the air on 2 receptions to give him 176 total yards of offense. The leading receiver was Cooper Kupp, who had 78 yards on 4 receptions, and then additionally, Robert Woods had 48 yards on 4 receptions and the only receiving touchdown of the day. On the defensive side of the ball, Jordan Fuller and Troy Reeder were the Rams' leading tacklers. They had 7 of them on the day. Their goated defensive tackle, Aaron Donald, would finish with 3 tackles and 2 sacks. Their elite corner, Jalen Ramsey, would finish with 3 tackles, and he also had a pass defended as well. And then with this win, they logged 5 sacks total as a team, as Leonard Floyd's both of his tackles were sacks. And then Darius Williams would finish with a 42-yard pick six, a very important one, as he finished with 4 tackles additionally. With this win, the Los Angeles Rams at 10-6 will advance to the next round, where they will more than likely play in the first round bye against the Green Bay Packers, but we still have yet to see with how how today's games finish out, because they have the lower seed than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but we still have to wait for today's games to finish to see how all the games will be set up. But with that said, with this loss, the Seattle Seahawks are the second of the 13 teams that will be eliminated from the playoffs. And then speaking of the third, the Washington football team hosted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the last game of last night, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to beat the Washington football team 31-23 after outscoring them 18-7 in the first half and kind of running away with that lead. Washington tried to come back on the very end, but it just wouldn't be enough. In the Washington football team's final football game of the 2020-2021 season, their starting quarterback, Taylor Hanke, would complete 26 of his 44 passes, throwing for 306 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 46 yards and another touchdown to give him a total of 352 total yards and 2 touchdowns, as Alex Smith was out for this game. Their leading, or also on the ground, their running back, J.D. McKissick, would finish with 5 yards and 2 carries and a touchdown. In addition to his 8 yards reception, he had 13 yards of total offense and still had a touchdown for the Washington football team. Through the air, their leading receiver was Cam Sims, who had 104 yards on 7 receptions. Terry McLaurin had 75 yards on 6 receptions. Logan Thomas at 74 yards on 5 receptions, and then Steven Sims Jr. had 33 yards on 3 receptions, and he had the only receiving touchdown of the day. On the defensive side of the ball, Jeremy Reeves was the leading tackler, as he had 10 of them on the day. John Bostic had 7 total tackles as he recovered a fumble. The team was able to log 3 total sacks as a team, 2 of them coming from Daron Payne. Then their elite young defensive end, Chase Young, in his final game of the season, of his rookie season, would finish with 3 tackles on the day. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their goated quarterback, Tom Brady, would complete 22 of his 40 passes, throwing for 381 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the ground, their leading rusher was Leonard Fournette, who had 93 yards on 19 carries and a touchdown. Their leading receiver was Mike Evans, their elite wide receiver, who had 119 yards on 6 receptions. Cameron Brate had 80 yards on 4 receptions. Chris Godwin had 79 yards on 5 receptions, and the other receiving touchdown went to Antonio Brown, who had 49 yards on 2 receptions. And then he also had 22 yards on a carry to give him 71 total yards of offense for the day for the Buccaneers. On the defensive side of the ball, Levante David would finish, and Carlton Davis would each finish with 9 total tackles, as Levante David had a sack as well. Same with Anthony Nelson. They had 2 sacks as a team, as Sean Murphy Bunting was able to log an interception for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go along with his 2 tackles. With this win, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will advance to the next round of the playoffs, and with the Rams win, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will secure secure their game against the lesser of the 2 seeds that make it through. So they could end up playing either the Chicago Bears or the New Orleans Saints. I have no idea as to how this is going to work. They would have to play either the Rams or the Saints if everything ends up as is, because they will not be able to play against the Green Bay Packers after the Rams beat the Seahawks. But that's what's going on with this loss, the Washington football team is the third of the 13 teams that have been eliminated. As of right now, there are 11 teams standing in the NFL that are still competing for the championship for the 2021 Super Bowl. and that schedule is going to continue today. The 10th or the fourth opponent the fourth team that will be eliminated at 105. So at 105, the 11-5 Tennessee Titans will host the 11-5 Baltimore Ravens on ABC and ESPN. The Titans hold the fourth seed as the Ravens hold the fifth seed. At 4:40, the 12-4 New Orleans Saints are going to host the 8-8 Chicago Bears. It is the 2 versus 7 matchup, and I think that'll be the game that'll be on Nickelodeon too. So that'll be a game to watch. And then last but not least, at 8:15, the third-ranked Pittsburgh Steelers are going to face off against the sixth-ranked Cleveland Browns that are only separated by a game on NBC. And once those three matchups have been played, the stage will be set for the NFC divisional or the NFC and the AFC divisional round. And before that, I will do a preview as to how those rounds are looking going in. Looking at the NBA to show you how everything's going in that league, going through the primetime games. Starting with the Philadelphia 76ers Nuggets. The Sixers hosted the Nuggets yesterday afternoon, and the Nuggets were able to beat the Sixers 115-103, especially after outscoring the Sixers by 14 in the third quarter. For the Philadelphia 76ers, their leading scorer was their starting point guard, Tyrese Maxey, who would finish with 39 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 18 for 33 from the field in 44 minutes, as he also shot 3 for 8 from the field, or 3 for 8 from 3. For the Denver Nuggets, their elite starting center, Nikola Jokic, would finish with 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists, shooting 6 for 8 from the field and 3 for 3 from the line. Their elite starting point guard, Jamal Murray, would finish with 14 points and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 11 from the field in 29 minutes and 2 for 3 from 3. And their starting shooting guard, Gary Harris, would finish with 21 points in 28 minutes, shooting 7 for 11 from the field and 5 for 8 from 3. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are currently sitting at 4-5, which ties them with the New Orleans Pelicans for the 10th best record in the West. And with this loss, the Philadelphia 76ers are now tied with the Celtics at 7-3 for the best record in the East. Jumping out to Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets were able to beat their division rivals, the Atlanta Hawks, 113-105, after outscoring them by 10 in the second quarter, which helped them. And the other quarters were remotely close, but they were able to get their 5th win of the season, which helped them eclipse the Atlanta Hawks in their division. For the Atlanta Hawks, off the bench, their shooting guard out of Duke, Cam Reddish, would finish with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals, shooting 6 for 17 from the field in 34 minutes. He also shot 4 from 13 for 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Their starting small forward, Deandre Hunter, would finish with 20 points, as he finished with 8 rebounds as well, shooting 6 for 12 from the field and 7 for 7 from the free throw line in 34 minutes. And their elite point guard, Trae Young, would finish with 15 points and 10 assists, shooting 5 for 19 from the field in 37 minutes. He also shot 0 for 5 from 3 and 5 for 5 from the free throw line. For the Charlotte Hornets, off the bench, their small forward, Caleb Martin, one of the twins, who plays with his brother, by the way. He finished with 15 points in 17 minutes, shooting 6 for 9 from the field and 3 for 4 from 3. Their elite young point guard off the bench, LaMelo Ball, would finish with 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists in 31 minutes, shooting 9 for 13 from the field and 3 for 5 from 3. And with this game, he is the youngest player to ever record a triple-double in NBA history. He's still only 19 years old. And out of their starters, their starting power forward, P.J. Washington out of Kentucky, would finish with 22 points and 7 rebounds, along with 6 blocks, shooting 7 for 11 from the field in 36 minutes and making all 6 of his free throws. And their leading scorer was their starting shooting guard, Terry Rozier, who'd finish with 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals, shooting 8 for 15 from the field in 35 minutes, 4 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are currently tied with the Cleveland Cavaliers for the 7th best record in the East. And with this loss, the Atlanta Hawks are sitting by themselves in the 11th spot in the East as it currently stands. They were sitting originally at the top, and through their losing streak, they have fallen out of the good graces of the Eastern Conference. Moving to Indianapolis, the Pacers were able to take on the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns were able to beat the Pacers 125-117 after outscoring the Pacers by 5 in the fourth quarter to gain and run away with the lead. For the Indiana Pacers, off the bench, their shooting guard, Justin Holiday, would finish with 17 points and 5 rebounds, shooting 6 for 10 from the field in 28 minutes. Their starting center, Miles Turner, would finish with 15 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 blocks, shooting 6 for 8 from the field in 36 minutes. Their starting shooting guard, Victor Oladipo, would finish with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in 31 minutes, shooting 7 for 21 from the field. Their starting point guard, Malcolm Brogdon, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 7 for 20 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 5 for 5 from the free throw line. And the Pacers' leading scorer was their power forward and former All-Star Domantas Sabonis, who finished with 28 points, 22 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 12 for 24 from the field in 41 minutes. And for the Phoenix Suns, off the bench, their small forward, Cam Johnson, would finish with 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 13 from the field in 29 minutes and 4 for 10 from 3. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, would finish with 15 points and 10 assists, shooting 6 for 10 from the field and 3 for 3 from the free throw line. Their starting small forward, Michael Bridges, would lead the team in scoring. He would lead all players in scoring with 34 of them. He also had 3 rebounds and 2 assists. He shot 12 for 18 from the field in 35 minutes. He also shot 6 for 8 from 3 and 4 for 4 from the three-point line. And then their elite shooting guard, Devin Booker, would finish with 25 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 9 for 19 from the field and 6 for 6 from the free throw line in 36 minutes. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 7-3. They are currently sitting at the top of the West, tied with the Lakers at 7-3. And with this loss, the Indiana Pacers are currently sitting at 6-3, which is the 3rd best record in the East as it stands. Jumping out into D.C., the Washington Wizards hosted the Miami Heat, and the Heat were able to beat the Wizards 128-124 after outscoring the Wizards by 13 in the third quarter. For the Washington Wizards, off the bench, their shooting guard, Garrison Matthews, would finish with 22 points for the squad. He did so in 23 minutes as he shot 6 for 12 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the line. And then their leading scorer out of the starters was Denny Avdija, their rookie, who'd finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 7 for 15 from the field and 5 for 9 from 3. And also their power forward out of Gonzaga, Rui Hachimura, would finish with 17 points and 5 rebounds, shooting 8 for 18 from the field. For the Miami Heat, off the bench, their point guard, Goran Dragic, would finish with 21 points and 5 assists in 20 minutes, shooting 7 for 10 from the field and 7 for 9 from 3. Their starting power forward, Kelly Olynyk, would finish with 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 7 for 15 from the field and 4 for 11 from 3. Their leading scorer out of their starters was their point guard, Tyler Hero, who'd finished with 31 points and 9 rebounds, shooting 12 for 20 from the field in 37 minutes and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. Their elite center, Bam Adebayo, would finish with 9 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 2 for 4 from the field in 21 minutes and 5 for 7 from the line. And then their elite small forward, Jimmy Butler, would finish with 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 10 for 18 from the field in 36 minutes, and he shot 6 for 6 from the free throw line. With this win, the Miami Heat are currently sitting in 9th place. As their other teams at 500, they are the only team sitting at 4-4 with this win. And with this loss, the Washington Wizards are sitting at the bottom of the East at 2-8, sitting 15th with that record. They are the only team with that record in the conference. Jumping out to Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Bucks hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers and were able to beat them 100-90 after outscoring them by 13 in the first quarter. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, their starting power forward, Larry Nance Jr., would finish with 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 steals, shooting 6 for 11 from the field in 40 minutes. Their starting shooting guard, Damian Dotson, would finish with 21 points on the night, as he also had 8 assists, shooting 8 for 17 from the field in 41 minutes. And the Cavs' leading scorer was their starting center, Andre Drummond, who finished with 26 points and 24 rebounds and shooting 11 for 23 from the field in 41 minutes. For the Milwaukee Bucks, their starting point guard, Drew Holiday, would finish with 15 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, shooting 5 for 12 from the field in 36 minutes. Their starting center, Bobby Portis, would finish with 17 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals, shooting 7 for 11 from the field in 33 minutes. And their leading scorer was their starting small forward, Chris Middleton, who finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 10 for 16 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line. With this 6-4 start to the season, the Milwaukee Bucks are currently tied with the Orlando Magic for the 4th best record in the East. And with this loss, the Cavaliers are tied with the Hornets and the Nets for the seventh best record in the NBA at 5-5, or seventh best record in the East at 5-5. Jumping out to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the San Antonio Spurs, and the Spurs were able to take this one 125 to 122 in overtime, as Patty Mills would come up clutch for the squad for the team at the end. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, off the bench, their center Nazrion Reed would finish with 16 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 6 for 8 from the field in 16 minutes and 3 for 4 from the three-point line. Their starting shooting guard, Malik Beasley, would lead the team in scoring with 29 points and 4 rebounds in 40 minutes, shooting 11 for 20 from the field and 7 for 10 from 3. Their elite starting shooting guard, D'Angelo Russell, would finish with 16 points and 6 assists, shooting 7 for 22 from the field in 38 minutes. And their elite center, Karl Anthony Towns, would finish with 25 points and 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks, shooting 9 for 17 from the field in 37 minutes, as he also shot 2 for 3 from 3 and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. For the San Antonio Spurs, off the bench, their point guard, Patty Mills, in addition to heading the very clutch shot in OT, he finished with 21 points in 30 minutes, as he shot 8 for 14 from the field, including the last shot for the Spurs, and he also shot 5 for 8 from the three-point line for the game. Their starting small forward, Caledon Johnson, would finish with 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 12 from the field in 42 minutes. Their starting point guard, DeJounte Murray, would finish with 22 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 7 for 18 from the field in 41 minutes, 3 for 6 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. And their leading scorer was their starting small forward, DeMar DeRozan, who finished with 38 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 13 for 23 from the field in 44 minutes, and 12 for 13 from the free throw line. With this win, the San Antonio Spurs are currently sitting with the 4th best record in the West at 5-4, tied with the Utah Jazz, the Dallas Mavericks, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Golden State Warriors. And with this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves are sitting at the bottom of the West at 2-7. With that being their record as of now. Jumping out to Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks hosted the Orlando Magic and were able to get the 112-98 win. And in winning by 14 points, they were also able to outscore the Orlando Magic by 9 points in the first quarter. For the Orlando Magic, their starting power forward, Aaron Gordon, would finish with 16 points, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds, shooting 6 for 16 from the field in 36 minutes. And their leading scorer was their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, who finished with 30 points and 15 rebounds, shooting 14 for 24 from the field in 33 minutes. And then for the Dallas Mavericks, off the bench, their point guard, Trey Burke, would finish with 29 points and 4 assists, shooting 11 for 13 from the field in 21 minutes and 7 for 8 from 3. Their starting small forward, Tim Hardaway Jr., would be the team's leading scorer with 36 points and 5 rebounds, shooting 12 for 20 from the field in 40 minutes, 8 for 13 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the line. And then their elite power forward, or elite point guard, Luka Doncic, would finish with 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists, with another triple-double on the season, as he shot 7 for 20 from the field in 35 minutes, 3 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 3 from the free throw line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are currently 5-4, tied with the Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Spurs, and the Warriors for the 4th best record in the West. And with this loss, the Orlando Magic are currently sitting with the 4th best record in the East, tied with the Milwaukee Bucks at 6-4. And then last but not least, jumping out to Sacramento, the Kings hosted the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Trailblazers were able to beat the Kings 125-99 after outscoring the Kings by 14 in the first and then 7 in the third, as they outscored the Kings in every single quarter. For the Sacramento Kings, their leading scorer was their starting power forward, Marvin Bagley III, who finished with 15 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 5 for 14 from the field in 24 minutes and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. And then for the Portland Trail Blazers, their starting shooting guard, CJ McCollum, led the entire game. He led all players in scoring, as he had 37 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, shooting 13 for 22 from the field in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from 3 and 5 for 5 from the free throw line. And their elite point guard, Damian Lillard, would finish with 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 5 for 16 from the field and 6 for 6 from the free throw line in 30 minutes. With this win, the Portland Trail Blazers are now 5-4, which is good enough to tie them for the 4th best record in the West, with the Jazz, the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Warriors. And then with this loss, the Sacramento Kings are sitting by themselves in 13th place of the West with a 4-6 record. And with that said, looking out to the rest of the NBA to show you what's going on for today, in addition to the football, the NFL playoff games. At 3 o'clock on NBA TV, the 2-7 Detroit Pistons are going to host the 5-4 Utah Jazz. And also on NBA TV, it'll be a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from the 2020 as the 7-3 Boston Celtics host the 4-4 Miami Heat. And then on the non-primetime games at 4 o'clock, the Clippers are going to host the Chicago Bulls. At 6 o'clock, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and the Nets are going to host the OKC Thunder, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At 6 o'clock, the New York Knicks, led by Julius Randle, are going to host the Denver Nuggets, led by Nikola Jokic. At 7 o'clock, the 3-4 Houston Rockets, led by James Harden, are going to host the 7-0 Los Angeles Lakers, led by the defending champs of the Los Angeles Lakers, led by their Finals MVP LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And at 8 o'clock, the 2-7 Minnesota Timberwolves are going to host the 5-4 San Antonio Spurs with DeMar DeRozan coming off of his 38-point outing. And at 8:30, the 5-4 Golden State Warriors are going to host the 2-6 Toronto Raptors in a rematch of the 2019 NBA Finals. With that said, I'm going to jump into college basketball to show you what's going on in that realm. Going through the rankings last night, first-ranked Gonzaga was able to beat unranked Portland 116-88, led by Joel Ajayi's 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 14 assists. And with this win, Gonzaga is now 12-0 on the season, as they are now 3-0 in the West Coast Conference. With this loss, Portland is now 6-5, and they are now 0-2 in the West Coast Conference. Second-ranked Baylor was able to beat unranked TCU 67-49 after outscoring them by 19 in the second quarter after trailing in the first half. Jared Butler would finish with 28 points for Baylor along with 8 rebounds, and with this win, Baylor is now 11-0. They are 4-0 in the Big 12. With this loss, TCU is now 9-4 as they drop to 2-3 in the Big 12. Fourth-ranked Texas was able to beat 14th-ranked West Virginia 72-70 after outscoring them by 6 in the second half. Courtney Ramey would lead the way for Texas with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. With this win, Texas is now 10-1. They are now 4-0 in the Big 12. And with this loss, West Virginia is 9-4 as they drop to 2-3 in the Big 12. Sixth-ranked Kansas was able to beat unranked Oklahoma 63-59 as Ochai Agbaji would finish with 14 points. And with this win, Kansas is now 10-2, and they are 4-1 in the Big 12. With this loss, unranked Oklahoma is now 6-4, and they are now 2-3 in the Big 12. Seventh-ranked Creighton was able to beat unranked St. John's 97-79 as Denzel Mahoney would drop 24 points against Julian Champagny's 33 points and 10 rebounds. With this win, Creighton is now 10-2 as they are now 6-1 in the Big East, and with this loss, St. John's is 6-6 as they drop to 1-5 in the Big East. Ninth-ranked Tennessee was able to beat unranked Texas A&M 68-54 as Santiago Vescovi's 23 points would lead the way. With this win, Tennessee is now 9-1 as they are now 3-1 in the SEC, and with this loss, Texas A&M is now 6-4 as they drop to 1-3 in the SEC. 11th-ranked Houston was able to beat unranked Tulane 71-50 as Marcus Sasser led the way with 28 points. With this win, the Houston Cougars are now 10-1. They are 5-1 in the American Conference, and with this loss, Tulane is now 6-3 as they drop to 1-3 in the American Conference. Unranked Ohio State was able to beat 15th-ranked Rutgers 79-68 as E.J. Liddell would score 15 points and add 6 rebounds. With this win, unranked Ohio State is now 9-3, and they are 3-3 in the Big Ten. As 15th-ranked Rutgers drops to 7-4 as they drop to 3-4 in the Big Ten. 17th-ranked Oregon was able to beat unranked Utah 79-73 as Chris Duarte's 25 points would lead Oregon to victory. And with this win, Oregon is now 9-2 as they now jump to 4-1 in the Pac-12. With this loss, Utah is now 4-4 as they drop to 1-3 in the Pac-12. 18th-ranked Texas Tech was able to beat unranked Iowa State 91-64 as Kyler Edwards led the way for Texas Tech with 19 points. With this win, Texas Tech is now 10-3, and they're now 3-2 in the Big 12. And with this loss, Iowa State is now 2-7 as they're now 0-5 in the Big 12. And then last but not least, 22nd ranked UVA, Virginia was able to beat unranked Boston College 61-49 as Jay Huff led the way with 18 points and 8 rebounds. With this win, 22nd ranked Virginia is now 7-2 on the season as they are 3-0 in the ACC. And with this loss, Boston College is 2-9 as they drop to 0-5 in the ACC. And last but not least, getting to my school, Duke, 21st ranked Duke was able to beat unranked Wake Forest 79-68 after outscoring them by 7 in the second half. Matthew Hurt would be the leading scorer for Duke as he put up 26 points and 6 rebounds. With this win, Duke is now 5-2 on the season as they jump to 3-0 in the ACC, and with this loss, Wake Forest is now 3-3 as they drop to 0-3 in the ACC. And then looking out to what's going on today for Sunday's matchups, 5th ranked Iowa is going to take on 16th ranked Minnesota on Big Ten Network at 2:30. At 6 o'clock, 19th ranked Virginia Tech is going to host unranked Notre Dame. And then at 8 o'clock, 12th ranked Illinois is going to host unranked Illinois. And I'll get to you with those games after that. And then jumping into what's been going on with soccer, what's been going on the international stage, starting with, or just going through all of the games yesterday and showing how they shaped the league. And of course, with soccer returning for 2021, it was a lot of big games to get right back into it. Starting with the English FA Cup, Arsenal was able to advance to the next round, beating Newcastle United in extra time, as both their goals would come in extra time. Their elite striker from Gabon, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, would score the second goal for Arsenal in the 117th minute. In the German Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund was able to beat RB Leipzig 3-1. Their elite forward Jadon Sancho would score in the 55th minute, which would be the first goal of the game. And then their elite striker from Norway, Erling Braut Haaland, would score in the 71st and 84th minute to put this game completely out of reach so that they could gain 3 points in the table over Leipzig. As it currently stands, because Bayern Munich lost as well, Borussia Dortmund is now 4th in the Bundesliga they are 5 points removed from Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich still sits at the top as they are 2 games over second place Leipzig. Leipzig had a chance to overtake Bayern with a win, but they lost. Jumping at the Serie A, the Serie A leaders, AC Milan, was able to beat Torino 2-0, and currently looking at Italian Serie A, they're sitting at the top of the table by 4 points with one more game played than Inter Milan. So Inter Milan, with a win, can move to 1 point less. Looking out to La Liga, Barcelona was able to beat Granada 4-0. Their elite forward from France, Antoine Griezmann, was scoring the 12th minute to put Barcelona up by 1. Their goated forward from Argentina, Lionel Messi, would score 2 goals to finish off the first half. And then Griezmann's 63rd minute goal would make it 4-0 as Barcelona would get a much needed win in the La Liga table. And then also Real Madrid was able to beat they drew with Osasuna 0-0. As that was how the score ended. And then the Atletico Madrid versus Atletico Bilbao game got postponed. But looking out into La Liga with how those games fared out, Atletico Madrid is still sitting at the very top of La Liga with 1 more point than Real Madrid, but they've played 3 less games, so they have 3 games in hand. Real Madrid is sitting second with one game behind Atletico Madrid, as they are now 3 points ahead of Barcelona, and Barcelona is now moving into 3rd place in La Liga after their not-so-great starts of the season. But Atletico Madrid, with these 3 games, can very much pull away and go up by as much as 13 points over 3rd place Barcelona, as La Liga currently stands. Jumping out to Ligue 1, PSG was able to beat Brest 3-0. Monaco was able to beat Angers 3-0. And then looking at the 2 teams that PSG was looking out to beat, Lille was able to beat Nimes 1-0, and Lyonnais they were able to tie with Stade Rennes at 2. Looking at how Ligue 1 is shaping out, at the very top you have Lyonnais sitting at the top with 1 point with 40 points in 19 games played. 1 point behind both of them is PSG and Lille. They both have 39 points in the table. They both have the same amount of games played as Olympique Lyonnais, and both of them are 1 point removed from the table. And then AS Monaco, with their loss to Stade Rennes, both those teams are tied with the 4th best record in Ligue 1. But Monaco is 4th over Stade Rennes in terms of goal differential as it stands. And those are the big games from yesterday, and looking towards today, because it's Sunday. More games are going to be played today. Starting with the English FA Cup, Chelsea's going to have to advance versus Morecambe. Manchester City will have to face off against Birmingham City in Manchester, so that'll be a big game to watch between those 2 teams. In Serie A, Inter Milan's going to face off against AS Roma as they seek to move closer to AC Milan at the very top of the table. Juventus is going to face off against Sassuolo at 2:45, and currently looking at where they sit, they're sitting 5th in the table. A win here could see them possibly move into 3rd in the table as it stands, especially with the win over AS Roma, because because Roma, or if they beat Sassuolo, because Roma is currently sitting in that third place spot. That's what I meant to say. And those are all the soccer matchups for today. And with that said, today is Sunday, January 10th, 2021. There was a lot that happened yesterday, and there's a lot that's going to go on today, as this is a very big weekend. And then following today's NFL matchups, of course, I'm going to do a profile into... of course, I'm going to do a segment on the previews for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and of course, with basketball being played, and I still have another profile for today. But with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with a individual profile following this. So peace out, and I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with a piece after this.